Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? If you can hear me, just let me know in the chat. You can let me know where you're calling in from. Just want to make sure that I am live. I think I'm live. Hello, hello. I think I'm live, but just let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to sing something. You don't want to hear me sing. I could whistle. Think I'm live. All right. Thank you, Joe Claus. All right. We are live. So, hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Um, yeah. For those of you that haven't met me, my name is Mukhtar, PM career coach. Hey, Justin. Hey, Carla. By the way, can you put just hey Priscilla? Can you just mention where you are calling in from? It's always nice to sort of know where everybody's located. Yeah, because you'll be surprised and amazed at where people are calling in from. The PM community is a really international community. All right, amazing. Yeah, but let us know where you're calling in from, and you can start to type up your questions. Any question that you have. Um, yeah, nothing is off limits. I'll do my best to answer. Um, yeah, and we do have some questions that came in from before. So while I'm waiting for questions, I will be going through some of these questions. Ooh, hey Joe from St. Louis, Missouri. My sister went to school in Missouri. I don't remember the school now. Hey Carla from Florida. I have family in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. My wife's family is from there. Ooh, hey Prashant in Mississauga. I'm in Mississauga. Hey Rajalakshmi. I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce your name well. From India. It must be late. Hey Justin from DFW. I lived in Arlington, Texas, in Lubbock, Texas, and in Houston, Texas. Yes, Justin, bring on the questions. Hey Ashis from Toronto. Hey Mark from New Hampshire. Hey Iman from Houston. All right. So Justin, you're saying, how do I select guests for my podcasts? That's the first question. How do I select guests for my podcast? That's a good question. So one thing that I really love is I just love teaching and coaching, and which is why I do this. So one of the reasons that I do these podcasts is to also learn, right? So I really just love the process of learning, educating. So I usually look for somebody that I can learn from and somebody that the audience can definitely learn from. And one of the things, I don't know, maybe this was an annoying quality about me. When I was growing up, I was the person who was always asking questions, right? And it used to get me a lot. It got me in a lot of trouble. Also, even as an adult as well, like I would ask questions that leaders wouldn't want to hear, and yeah. So I don't know. I also see the podcast just as a way to just indulge and ask questions, right? So to answer your question, How do I select guests? It's guests that I believe that I would have a good conversation with, that I'll be able to learn from, and I think that the audience will be able to learn from. I don't know if that helps. All right. Another question from Justin. What do you think is the hardest elements of trying to find a full-time job as a contractor role in the PM space? What do you think is the hardest element of trying to find a full-time job versus a contractor role in the PM space? This question is really like, there's so many parts to this question. I think that different people have different bottlenecks when it comes to the job search. Some people have multiple, because I speak to about 3 to 4 PMs every day, and I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, so I think, yeah, this is a really good question to unpack. So everybody that's in the job, one thing that I just want to remind everybody, that the job market is a market, right? And in the market, there is demand and supply, right? And everybody in the market reacts to every single individual differently, right? If you have, for example, AI skills, cybersecurity skills, maybe even data center operation skills, the market will want to suck you up very quickly, right? On the other hand, if you have, what's an outdated skill now? Anyway, I can't think of an outdated skill. Yeah, so if you have an outdated skill, then the market would repel you, right? So these are sort of two extremes, so to speak. Now, every individual has to sort of, so just given that, like, the market reacts to you. Some people, like, they get lots of interviews. Some people, cannot get enough interviews. Some people do get interviews, but they just, they don't make it past the first round. Some people get interviews, they stop in the middle. Some people get interviews. I was just speaking to somebody yesterday. She gets lots of interviews and she makes it all the way to the final round, but she never gets an offer, right? So I think, the first problem is to diagnose where your bottleneck is. Now, you can think of the job search process as a funnel, right? So at the very top of the funnel, maybe you're doing applications, right? So you're doing applications. There are some people that are doing applications, they've been applying for a long time, but they haven't had any interviews. I had somebody who just joined us, and he's been applying. Brilliant technical program manager in the New York City area, right? So this is a metropolitan area, but he's been trying and he hasn't gotten interviews, right? So there is probably a positioning problem, right? Because a technical program manager is even in this market, that's a sought after skill. Like, you're going to find more program manager roles than you're going to find more program managers than technical program managers, right? Because it's a unique specialization to be technical, to be able to feel comfortable with developers, to be able to lead developers and all that, so it takes a certain level of comfort and maybe not necessarily technical acumen per se, but you need to know enough to feel confident to drive projects, right? And he has that, but he has a positioning problem, right? Because the jobs are there. It's competitive, but the jobs are there. So that's one example. That's one person's bottleneck. Another person's bottleneck might be, okay, they're applying, but their conversion rate is low. So maybe they apply to hundreds of roles, but they just get 1 or 2 interviews. That's a 2% conversion rate. If you position yourself well, you should expect, even in this job market, if you position yourself well, you should expect a 5 to 30% conversion rate, right? So out of 20 applications, you should at least get 1 interview, On the high end of that, what's 30% of 20? Six interviews, right? And this is with the right positioning, you should still be getting this in this job search market. So that's also a benchmark to use. Like if you're getting below 5%, then there's room for optimization, right? So that's another bottleneck. Another bottleneck, like I mentioned before, is that you're getting interviews, but then maybe you're not making it past the first round. So what it means is that on paper, they like what they see. That's why they invited you to an interview. But somehow you were not able to convince them for them to move you through to the next round, right? So we're going deeper and deeper into the funnel, right? So then maybe, we have to work on, we need to sort of look at how you are. Well, one of the things that you can do is to try to ask for feedback, but a lot of times people don't give feedback. So maybe try to get feedback from somebody else, yeah. And then there's also, okay, I'm getting down into the funnel, like I'm moving past the other rounds, but I can't quite make it to the interview, to the final round. Then maybe what that means is that you're losing out to the competition, because there are lots of people on the job market. Like you're hearing like Amazon is going to lay off 30,000 people, and so there are lots of qualified people that are coming onto the job market. So you want to make sure that you stand out. If there are any more follow-up questions there, please just let me know. I know I spent some time there, but that's a really it's a big question, and different people have different bottlenecks there. All right. Hey, Alisa from Maryland. Yeah, Justin, you said you're gonna build me a backlog of questions. Please do. Please do. All right. So Justin has asked lots of questions. Justin, I'm gonna give the floor to some other people, and then I'll come back to you if I don't have more questions. But appreciate you, Justin. All right, Amber, what industries are demanding PMs right now? What are the hottest? So I think so tech is definitely hot right now. And I'm using hot. I mean, like the market is crazy, but you're still seeing lots of roles coming up in tech, in IT. But I think you can also even be more nuanced than that. Like within tech, there are spaces where they are getting rid of PMs, and then there are spaces where they can't get enough PMs. One of the things that I think is a good exercise is, I mean, right now we have this AI trend. Some people are saying, okay, it's a bubble, but if you want to get in the AI space, one of the things that you can think about is just looking at the entire AI ecosystem, right? So a lot of times when we think AI, we think, okay, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and all of that. But in order for ChatGPT to work, what does ChatGPT depend on? Right? So ChatGPT is an app, right? Beneath that, ChatGPT. Okay, let me see how to explain this. So ChatGPT is in the application layer, right? So it's an app. Beneath that, it uses LLMs, large language models, right? And then there are companies that play in that space, right? So in the app space, you have ChatGPT, you have the OpenAI, you have Claude, you have Gemini, you have all these companies. And then you also have like specialized companies. Like I think Harvey, there's a company that does, it's like legal ChatGPT. And there are some that are used in the medical space. Like my sister is in the medical space. And when it comes to one of the things that really, because doctors also suffer from a lot of burnout. And I think part of that comes from like the amount of administrative work that they need to do. Like, after a call, they need to take notes, document all of that goes into the EMR, right? So now I think, there are now these AI tools that help with that. So they are specialized AI apps in all these different spaces, right? Maybe that will comply with HIPAA and all of that, right? So this is just the application layer, and I'm just mentioning a few. So this is one way to think about it, right? Because this AI, if you look at the stock market right now, AI is heavily influencing the stock market. Like some people are saying we're in a recession, but there's this part of the economy that's still thriving and that's still making the stock market, that's still buoying up, what's the word, BUOI or something, yeah, that's still shoring up the stock market, right? So that's the application layer. And then you have the large language model layer. So this, OpenAI also plays in that space. You also have DeepSeek, you have, Google as well. Underneath that, you can also think of, okay, the data layer, right? So because like these large language models are trained on data. So Snowflake, Databricks, there are all these companies that they specialize in data, right? And then, there are other companies that are there. So each one of these are companies that that have projects that need PMs, right? And then underneath that, you also have the people that are now making the hardware, chips, Nvidia, there's AMD, there is IBM, and there's the IBM, sorry, not IBM, this company that Trump wanted the stake in, that has the foundry, I don't remember now. Yeah, Intel, yeah, there is Intel, and then there is and then underneath that you have people that actually operate data centers. So, there's Microsoft and all that, but you also have specialized data centers, specialized AI data centers like Crusoe, like, there are other companies like, and then they're the ones that supply energy. They're the ones that supply HVAC. They're the ones that actually construct, so these are all layers that are tied to the entire ecosystem. And just because of the AI boom, everybody here is actually like, because I've done this exercise, if you go look at all these companies, you will see a spike in headcount, right, in all these companies. So it has this chain effect, and this section of the economy is booming, right? So this is just one slice. Now you can think of other areas in the economies that have this sort of boom, and then you just sort of paint and build out the ecosystem, and then you can now target people in those companies. I hope that helps. But yeah, let me know if there are more questions. All right. So hi Khizar. For professionals with strong technical backgrounds who have recently earned their PM certification, how can they effectively transition into project management roles when their company doesn't provide opportunities and the job market demands prior PM experience? Okay, let me read this again. For PM professionals with strong technical backgrounds who have recently earned their PMP, how can they effectively transition into project management roles when their current company doesn't provide opportunities and the job market demands prior PM experience? Okay, that's a good question. So a couple of things that I would say is, my guess is that you've led projects already, right? Because correct me if I know I did my PMP a while ago, but in order for you to be qualified for your PMP, you need to show that you've led projects, right? I could be wrong there, but I think, for you to be approved, you need to show that you've led projects. So my guess is that you've led projects even without the title, right? And it doesn't need to be a huge project, 1 year. Whatever you've done, whatever projects that you've done, now it's time to just bring those out and now just really articulate those in project management lingo, right? Because many project managers started leading projects before they had the title. The same was with me. Like even before I knew there was a thing called project management, my company told me there's this trial, because I was actually on the project. I was the junior person there, and the company, I was working as a consultant. So our client wanted to cut costs. I was the junior person there. They cut me off, and then I went back to the bench, right? So now my company was like, all right, I don't know what to do with this guy. There's this trial going on here. just go and keep yourself busy, right? And me, like I was already, thinking like my days are numbered, right? Because if you're not making the company money, like they just, they cut you, right? So now I needed to, it was a trial, they were not really paying for it. It was not really, so I needed to go sort of just man the trial. And the trial was about them using our tool, and then if they like it, then they'll buy it. So people didn't really have faith in it. Like I was like, let's just put this body there to do things, right? And then I started, I went there, I found out who the main people were, like who is the main decision, who do I need to make happy, what are your problems, what are you looking to solve, met all these people. This is stakeholder management. I didn't know I was in stakeholder management. All I needed to know was I needed to make this successful so that I would still have my job, right? All right, the trial is going to take 6 months. All right, what am I going to do in that time? All right, what do you need to know for this to be considered successful so that my boss will be happy with me? Yeah, that's your success criteria. Okay, how do we get there? Who else needs to be involved? Who's going to give this trial like the pass mark, right? And then you just work backward from there. I mean, of course, doing this the first time, you will stumble. I know I made some faux pas. Like, I was reading the org chart, and then I thought that, okay, the main person that I needed to please was this person. So this person, I'm going to call him Andrew. So Andrew was like high on the org chart, and his name was on the contract. Like, okay, like this is the contract holder. And I was like, okay, yeah, Andrew, tell me what to do. What do I need to do to make you happy and all of that? So I understood that. But then there was this other person, I'm going to call her Anne. She wasn't really on the org chart. Apparently, Anne was the one with the power. And then she when she saw that, okay, I was doing and there was politics as well, right? So I was learning all of this. Like, there's a bit of tension between Anne and Andrew, and then I'm listening to Andrew, and then like she called me to office one time and just blasted me. Like, what do you? I'm gonna like, this project is not going well. I'm going to I'm gonna, like, just can the whole thing. And then after she gave me like an ass whooping, I was like, okay, yeah, this person is very important. So there are all these things that you learn. You learn to actually read, beyond the org structure, right? So this is also stakeholder management, right? And then I got, on Anne's good side, and then she became a very powerful ally. The project became very successful. It led to us getting like a 5-year multi-million-dollar contract that ended up being renewed. And because of this project, I got promoted. I was now like leading our Middle East and Africa region, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, a lot of time, most of us have done projects, but maybe because we did the projects before our PMP, or we did the project without having the title, like we sort of diminish that experience, right? So what you want to do is, you want to find, like, the definition of a project is very, very, I don't want to say simple, but it's very accommodating, if I can put it that way. An initiative, there was a start, there was a finish, and it led to a specific outcome. Better yet, if you had to galvanize a group of people, like if you had to galvanize a group of people to help you achieve that outcome, that is a project. So it's now a matter of just, taking all of that and now just putting it in project management language. So to answer your question, I would say dig deep into your previous experience, really articulate those in project management lingo. And then you have a PMP, like that is the PMP with the experience. You're already a project manager, right? Just start positioning yourself that way, right? I hope that helps. If it doesn't, let me know. All right. What is right positioning? I'm not sure I understand this question, but if you can clarify, just let me know, LinkedIn user. Okay. Hi, Raja Lakshmi. Please correct me if I'm not. Oh, I was going to say, please correct me if I'm not saying your name well, but you don't have audio. I have noticed your excellent job postings are primarily for US-based remote roles. Given the large and active PM community in India, do you see potential opportunity or plan to expand your job board to include India-based remote roles for or local PM in the future? That is a good question. That is a good question. Yeah, I think that's something to consider. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I think that's something that we can look into. Yeah. Yeah, I guess sometimes we just get, yeah, because yeah, I'm based in the US and Canada, and sometimes, yeah, we just sort of get focused in this region. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we can take a look at. Thank you for the question. All right, let's do Srikana. Can you please suggest some resources which PMs could refer to make their project management skills relevant to managing AI projects? Okay, so there are, I think I did a post on this recently about, is it certifications or courses? I don't remember. And there were some AI ones, there were some AI courses there. And I also have, I think so. I think I did that. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so there are lots of, there are a couple of free AI PM courses, and I think you also get certifications like PMP has some, and there are others out there. So that will be one thing to recommend. That you can go on the PMI website and or just Google like PMI AI courses, and there are also some on Coursera, Udacity. There's some that will be for product managers as well, but there's a lot of overlap between product and program project managers, so you can also still look at those. Another thing is that you also don't have to wait for experience. Like you can start building things like their AI agents. Like if there's a problem that you have, like maybe there's an annoyance in any of your workflows, like see what you can do. Even brainstorm with ChatGPT. Like, okay, just think about all the annoyances or little things that you wish would be more efficient in your day-to-day, and brainstorm with ChatGPT and see how you can maybe solve some of those things with AI, right? And there could be agents that can help you. The agents, there are lots of YouTube videos. If there's Make, there's N10, there are all these different agents. There's also like these AI tools that help you build apps with little to no coding, like Lovable. So there are all these tools. You can start playing with them. There are YouTube videos. All you need is just time. And I guarantee you, when you do this, you're going to be ahead of a huge chunk of the market, because a lot of people are waiting to be given a chance to lead AI projects, but you can just start on your own. And a lot of companies are still trying to figure this out. So, go on, learn how to use N10. There are lots of great videos out there on YouTube, Lovable, and just, work through it. And you can add that to your resume, right? You can add a portfolio. Okay, I created this. You add it to your portfolio, and add that to your keywords. Add that on LinkedIn, so that when recruiters are now searching, because AI recruitment has really ramped up. When they are 90% of recruiters go search for candidates on LinkedIn, and the way they do that is by searching. So your LinkedIn profile, like this is one thing I made, but your LinkedIn profile is a database. So you need to make sure that you think about how the recruiter searches, and just make sure that you have the right keywords in your profile so that you will show up, right? And from what I recall, like LinkedIn gives a lot of emphasis to the headline, so you want to make sure that you have the right keywords in the headline. I mean, don't stuff it just to make it machine readable. Also make it human readable as well, right? So yeah, this is my 2 cents here. So just to quickly summarize, there are courses, there are free courses out there like PMI. You can go on Udacity, Coursera. You can also just start, working on your own AI projects, to use it to solve some of the little annoyances in your day to day. And then you can also go on YouTube and watch videos on how to use like these AI agents. I hope that helps. All right. Hey, Carla. In my previous job, I led devs to build an AI bot for hospitals. Nice. Nice. And maybe, Carla, if you can share how how you got that project, if it's okay. Did you have to maybe, to answer, do you have anything to add um to what I said in terms of Srikana's question? Like, did you have to maybe build your skills before you were able to lead that project? So if you can share anything, that will be awesome. All right. Hey, Elizabeth, welcome to the party. I pronounced your name correctly. Oh my goodness. Wow. I feel so good. Thank you. All right. What's one thing that you've learned as a PM early on that you've taken with you throughout your career? Okay, so that's a really good question. I don't know if I learned this early on. I think I learned this later on in my career, and I wish I learned this early on. And the lesson is to have a mentor, or or somebody to coach me, or like, yeah, mentor, or somebody that I can look to for guidance, right? Because like I don't know about many the PM, like I love being a PM, but it can be a very, very lonely profession because it's you, a lot of responsibility, little authority, like everything is on your head. And like my kind of personality, it's difficult for me to switch off. Like, I leave work and I come home, my mind is still at work. Like my mind is worrying, racing, and trying to anticipate risks. And it's not easy for me to switch off, right? Yeah, so you just feel like it's just you and all this pressure, right? Um, but a lot of times you are not the only one going through that. Yeah. So almost everything that I've gone through, there are many other PMs that have gone through the same, or that are going through the same thing, right? So I think I would have saved myself a lot of just stress by just having somebody that I can reach out to regularly. Somebody to get even just that emotional support. Like, you're not crazy, you're doing a good job. People are not responding to your Slack. Like I'm like on the edge of my seat. I've sent you gentle reminders 3 times. And right now, it's looking like I'm not doing my job well. When are you going to respond to me? Right? Like I'm waiting. But even just to somebody just to say, it's okay, this is normal. It's not because they think that, you know, it's not because they think that you're not really bringing any value. Like, just hearing that, like I think would have made just a world of difference, because you are, number one, you're focused on driving that project to the end. And then there are people that are antagonistic. Do we need a PM? You're also dealing with that. There are also people that have their own political, things. Like people have little fiefdoms. You're dealing with that. Some people don't want your project to be canned. You've never done this project before. You also, you're confident, but at the same time, you're dealing with the imposter syndrome. You're doubting yourself. What if this project fails? Like, it's just a lot. Right? So even just having somebody say like you're doing right, you're doing the right things, you care. It's all like just having somebody in your corner, like that would have made huge a huge difference for me, I think. So I think if I were to do it over again, from day one, right, I will go find somebody. Or not even someone, but a group of people, like or even just finding community. which is also like one of the amazing things about this, about LinkedIn. I think, yeah, it's amazing to see the PM community and how we support each other. All right. Thank you for the question, Elizabeth. LinkedIn user. Who is LinkedIn user? Mystery user. This live has been so helpful. Thank you so much for having it. Question is regarding LinkedIn profile. If your consulting experience is almost the same time as non-consulting in terms of years, is it worth deleting the non-consulting roles? The goal is to try to keep the profile up to date. That is a good question. And this is something that comes up again and again, because a lot of times, like, we're very multifaceted, right? Many people, like, for example, I started out as a petroleum engineer, right? So I can have a petroleum engineering profile. I can have a project management profile. I can have a product management profile. I can have a leadership managerial. Yeah. So there are all these different, but if you combine everything, it confuses the recruiter, right? Or at the very least, maybe not. So a lot of times your profile is being viewed amongst hundreds of other candidates, right? Like, whenever people apply to a role, like, there are hundreds, sometimes you see that, like, thousands, right? So the person who is looking at your profile they're not really giving you benefit of the doubt. Like, they don't really have the time. Like, they want to get the best person who's not going to make them look bad, and who's the least risky, right? So if I look at your profile and I'm seeing consulting, sales, accounting, like, it's just making my brain hurt, right? I would just rather go to somebody. Okay, I'm hiring for a PM. This person has a consistent, clear narrative. Project, project coordinator, or maybe business analyst, project manager, program manager. Oh, this is my person. Who else? As opposed to somebody that's making my head hurt, like, in the 5 seconds or 7 seconds that I'm gonna, right? So I think it starts with, what are you targeting, and then reverse engineering from that, right? So if you're not targeting the consulting roles, and you're targeting the consulting roles, then I would emphasize the consulting on my LinkedIn profile, and de-emphasize what I don't want to be found for, right? And one thing to keep in mind is that your LinkedIn profile is not supposed to speak to everybody. Like, you want to keep in mind, like, who are you trying to attract with your LinkedIn profile? And then you work backwards from there, right? So if you're looking for a particular type of role, maybe you're looking for a consulting role, who is going to be the hiring manager for that? Who are the recruiters for that? And speak to them, right? Put yourself in their shoes. They usually have a pain. That's why they have a job that they post. Speak to them, right? So that's one thing that I would say. Just, focus on your ideal persona, the person that you're trying to speak to, and just build your profile to speak to that person. Okay, I hope that helps. If it doesn't, just ask more questions. All right. So I think I skipped some questions at the very beginning. Yeah. Okay, I think it's time to get back to Justin, because last question, since I see you have a great backlog now. What skills do you see PMs are missing that makes them less competitive? Okay, so this is a really good question. And I think that this depends on the type of roles or maybe industries that you're targeting. So if you are targeting particular industries, then I would say that if you have experience in that industry, you want to you want to lean into, you want to emphasize your domain knowledge, right? So I think this is one of the things, like when you're looking for your next role, all the industries and sectors that you've worked in, like those are huge competitive advantages for you, right? Even if maybe you led an IT project in finance, maybe it was like pure IT, you still, that project existed in the financial space, right? So you can add that to your domain knowledge, because an IT in the financial space is not exactly this. An IT project in the financial space is not exactly the same as an IT project in the healthcare space, right? It's just the nature of of the industries, right? So I would say that if you have expertise in a particular sector or domain, you want to highlight that, because a lot of times, especially in this market that's an employer's market, a lot of times I've seen people lose interviews to people that had industry specific knowledge, right? Um, yeah, so that's one thing that I would say. But I mean, having said that, like there are ways to combat that. Like if you're very interested in a particular industry and you're worried that you don't have that industry knowledge, there are ways to combat that. So I wouldn't let that dissuade you. You just need to um, you need to lean into other things that are your strengths. Um, Now, in terms of skills, so I think that if there's like latest technologies that are hot right now, like for example, we're talking about AI. If you have, I think AI is being sought after by companies across all industries. So if there are things that you can do there, you can add that, and it's not really just taking classes or courses, but if there are things that you can actually, like practical things that you can do, and a lot of these don't require coding, so I think that these are things that can make you stand out. um Other things that can make you stand out, because a lot of PMs have skills, so sometimes it's not really a matter of differentiating yourself with skills or maybe certification. It's now really about how are you presenting yourself, right? So I think one thing that many people can do is to work on visibility, right? Not saying that people should all go be influencers, but one of the things that you can do is just consistently, it could be creating content. And this is not because a lot of times when you talk about creating content, people feel like, okay, like a lot of content on LinkedIn is so cringe. It's like very it's like people are just trying to say stuff when they shouldn't be saying stuff, right? So you don't have to go down that route, right? And I think that people can tell when content is cringe, and it also affects the credibility. Again, you have to keep in mind, who are the people that you're trying to attract, and you are not trying to go viral. Like, that's not the point. What you're doing is that you're just creating a library, almost like a portfolio of what you can do, right? So you think of, I don't know, a particular problem that normally shows up, for a PM, or a problem that you've dealt with. Just write something there, and it's going to be on your profile forever. 90% of recruiters search on LinkedIn for candidates. When they land on your profile, they would see skills like other PMs. But when they now look at the history of your post, and they've seen that you've consistently, maybe every week, every 2 weeks, you've written something thoughtful, 12 lines, thoughtful, that carries a lot of weight. Like, this person is committed to their craft. They know what they're saying, and they've been doing this consistent. Like, that carries a lot of weight than, okay, maybe this person actually just went to ChatGPT, asked, give me the ultimate PM resume, and then just stuff their profile with keywords. Like, a lot of resumes are now looking the same, right? Because everybody has access to ChatGPT. But that consistency in terms of, putting out there something of value, or even just learning in public, I think that will make you stand out, right? I hope that helps. All right. Wow, time is flying. There's so many. Well, thank you all for participating. I mean, I'm just trying to. The reason why there's a bit of silence is that I'm trying to find where I last stopped, the last question that I stopped at. So just bear with me. All right. So Dharamveer. Apologies if I didn't pronounce your name well. How can someone transition into a PM role from a technical background like cybersecurity or engineering? Okay, yeah. So I think we talked about this somewhat early on. I don't know if you were there, but one of the things that you can do is to look for projects that you've led in the past, right? Because a lot of times, like a lot of people in technical spaces, they would have led projects. It could be, um, you know, maybe a migration project. You are refactoring the code base, what have you? Like any of those projects that you've done, or maybe you led penetration testing efforts or what have you, like any of those projects that you led, or actually because sometimes you can even have like a larger umbrella program and maybe you led a component of that, right? So identify those from your background and now start to articulate those in project management language, right? Like project one, project two, project three. You can even build a portfolio of projects, your top 3 projects that you managed, right? This is something that we also um, that 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 we do with our clients, is that we build this portfolio of the top 3 projects that they've managed in their career, and like this is in a nice, beautiful visual format. Like it's almost like, because like photographers, they have portfolios, designers have portfolios, project managers should have portfolios as well. It's like this is what I'm capable of, right? So you can also do that, like your top 3 projects, and then put that in the featured section of your LinkedIn profile, right? And then in your in your resume, on your LinkedIn, like you can now start to articulate your project leadership roles, right? And another thing that I would say is, like, I believe that you should don't get married to the titles that you had, or the title that was given to you when you signed the offer letter, right? Because I think a lot of time titles, they can do a disservice to you. What I usually like to say, there's a difference between your title and your role. I'll give you an example. One time, like I was employed in this particular company, and my title was software support engineer. I was a petroleum engineer and I was leading projects, right? So it's like, okay, they just, I don't know, they didn't have, what, that was just the title, and they gave it. If I put software support engineer on my resume, I would not get found for the work that I'm qualified to do. So what I did is that I put a role that indicated what I did. I was a project manager, and that was the role on my resume, right? So I think, now I'm not saying lie or misrepresent, no, but I think you need to put roles that are true to what you've done, and that's gonna be understood by the people that you're trying to attract, right? So yeah, so if you're trying to pivot and you've actually led projects, you led a project, you were the project lead for that project. Because a lot of, like, sometimes people they manage a project without a title. You were the project manager of that project, right? But your title was technical lead, cybersecurity. And so, these are things, and this is just because, again, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to put forward somebody who the hiring manager will be like, why did you send me this resume? Like, so they're looking to minimize risk, and they're also reviewing hundreds of other resumes. So they don't have time to parse your resume and do like, just make it easy for them. Right. So don't misrepresent it. Put titles that are true to what you've done and that's also palatable to the to what the recruiter is looking for. So that would be one thing that I would recommend. Yeah, and try to really emphasize your project management background or the projects that you've led, and you can de-emphasize other things that you think will not be relevant. I hope that helps. All right. Let's see. What's next? How do you deal with imposter syndrome when your brain says you're not ready, but your resume says hire me? Nice. Then make your resume say don't hire me. No, I'm just kidding. Um yeah, so I think what do I think here? So this is one of my favorite stories. Um so there was I don't know if people know Neil Gaiman. I might have said this story before. So Neil Gaiman, he's like this accomplished author. He's done like, and I think he's also a producer. He's done Good Omens. He's done, a lot of things. So he was at this party, and at this party, they were like the who is who, top people in their various professions. He was there. And then he was like feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing here with all these, like, look at all these amazing people, top of their field, accomplished actors, celebrities, and everything. And then I think he was at the corner, and then another person came to him. His name was also Neil. And like I think they just how, oh wow, what are you doing here? What's it? Oh, Neil, oh, I'm Neil. And then you start having awkward small talk, by the side. Oh yeah, ha ha ha, we have the same name. What a coincidence. Right. So they were having this conversation, and then this other Neil said, like, I don't know, I feel weird, like I don't know what I'm doing here with all these people, like, look at all these people at the top of their field. And then Neil Gaiman was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're the first man to land on the moon. He was speaking with Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong was feeling like an imposter there. So this is, I think the stats say that 70% of people would experience imposter syndrome at least once in their life, right? So this is something that we all feel across all levels, right? So I think that it's very natural. So I think things like having the right support system, like having a group, having a guide, like, this is something I've also come to realize very, very, that I've come to the realization very recently, is that for anything, I did a post on this, for anything that you really want in life, like, you need a group and a guide. Like, it would just make things a lot easier. A group, like, people that are maybe that are trying to achieve the same things, like, they just support you and they just even propel you further. And then you need a guide, somebody to show you the shortcut to get in there. So I think having the right support system goes a long way. But yeah, this is very common. I don't know if that helped. Veer. Oh my goodness, there's so many more questions. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to see if I can get to all of them before the time is up. But keep on the questions. Keep bringing the questions. I'm not even speaking English well. Keep bringing in the questions. All right. Okay, Neil says, what's the most common mistake you see project managers make, and how can it be avoided? I think one big one is playing small, right? And I think this goes hand in hand with this imposter syndrome, because I feel like there are a lot of things that are just really fighting to make you play small. Like, oh, just facilitate the meetings, just take notes, just make sure that people show up, and you just nudge people on Slack, and don't really don't really rock the boat. I mean, not to say that you should just go and be rocking the boat for no reason, but so I think this is one of the things that many and I mean I also made the same mistake, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna be treated how you position yourself, right? So I think there needs to be this key mindset shift, is that as a project manager, you're not just there to you're not the help. I mean, there is a component of helping. Yes, there's that. As a leader, yes, you should be able to what do you call it now? They carry the water. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, but as a leader, you should be able to. Yeah, you should be there to serve. And of course, you should take notes, because you need to. If you don't, memory is fickle. People will forget. Yeah. So there are all these things. These are necessary parts of your role, but it doesn't stop there, right? you know I like to usually think of my role like I am a partner to leadership, right? Like, what I do best is that I execute. You come up with your strategy. My specialty is to get you there. Like, I would execute, like, you know you, you give me the right support, I will get you to your destination, right? So I think we really need to own that, because this is the discipline of execution and delivery, right? I don't know if there's any other profession that like this is what we do. So this is our specialty. The same way the engineer has their specialty, the same way the product managers, the marketers, they all have their specialty. Our specialty is that no matter how complex it gets, we will get you to your destination. We will untangle the mess and we will help you realize your goal, right? So I think, just really owning that. I think that's one mistake that I know that I made, that I made a lot early on in my career. And I think this is something that I see. I see a lot of people playing small. Not to say go out there and be arrogant and be like, okay, now I'm going to be the alpha project manager. Now, no, not that, because that would also not get you, but just really having that confidence that, don't worry, I understand your problem. And of course, really understand your problem, and I will get you there. Like, I am a partner. I want to help you succeed. Like, I want to deliver. So I think that is something that we can do more of. All right, let's see. Sorry, we buried you with comments. No need to be sorry, Elizabeth. All right, LinkedIn user, I have my formal review tomorrow and could really use your quick advice. My role has evolved a lot. I started at a service desk, okay, tier 1, but now I'm owning onboarding and offboarding, okay, handling SaaS, identity admin tasks that used to be Kevin's coordinating with PNC vendors and document workflows, still consistently one of the MVPs. Okay, I think the comment is incomplete. So yeah, I didn't get the question. Yeah, if we have some time, I'll get back to that. And if you can just maybe clarify later on down there. All right, let's see. Question from Matthew. At the end of the day, why it matters? Certifications like PMP, CAPM, Prince2, or Agile Signal Credibility, do employers rely heavily on these? At the end of the day, why it matters? Certifications like PMP, CAPM, Prince2, or Agile/Scrum Signal Credibility, do employers rely heavily on these? I think some employers place a lot of emphasis on certifications, rightly or wrongly. And I think for some of them, it's just a way to quickly, it's almost like a proxy to approximate, it's a proxy or it's a shorthand to assess who is qualified. Um, yeah, so I've met people that could care less about the certifications and the other people that put it there as a must have. But I don't normally see it as a barrier. And I know, some people might not agree with me because, you're probably seeing jobs where they say, oh, PMP must have. At the end of the day, the person that gets the job is the person that can show that they can deliver the most return on investment. The job is an investment to the company. $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year. That is a cost. If you can show that you'll be able to deliver the most return on the investment, PMP be damned, you will get the job. And I've seen this again and again. Like I've helped, I had somebody with a CAPM got a $70,000 raise, without, and a two-year gap. But if you're able to position yourself as, okay, I am the most higher candidate, you will get the job, right? So not to minimize the importance of the certification, like it is, if you have the capacity, the bandwidth to get the certification, by all means get it. But a lot of times what I see is that when people are struggling to find a job, the first thing that comes to mind in when they troubleshoot is, I need to go get certified. I need to, go to school. And a lot of times what I see is that when people do that, they come back to square one. Like they've gotten all of that. Now they're applying with other PMPs and they're still getting rejected, right? So a lot of time what I see is your positioning tends to be the problem. Like if you're not getting interviews, your positioning is the problem. Like how are you articulating yourself? How are you responding to the job description? How are you what kind of outreach are you doing to speak to decision makers so that you can get in front of the hiring manager? Like all of those things play a role. Like I would first troubleshoot and make sure that I have a solid job search strategy. And then, if that's in place, and then you can go and get your PMP. Like, I mean, when I moved to Canada, like I didn't know anybody here, didn't have any Canadian experience. I got a PM role, and then my company ended up paying for my PMP, right? And the role that I got was not even was not advertised. It was created for me, right? Some of you will probably have heard about the hidden job market. About 60 to 80% of all jobs are hidden. They are filled by word of mouth, right? So, I mean, again, not to say that certifications are bad or anything, but a lot of times the mistake that I see people make is that they default to certification and education as the first thing, when they're not successful with their job search. All right, and with that, we are over time. This was so, I had fun. I apologize if I wasn't able to get to all your questions, but yeah, I think maybe we should do this again sometime soon. We might have a guest next week, but if we don't, maybe we can do this again. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate you tuning in from all over the world. I mean, all the way in India. It must be late in the evening now. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Take care now. Bye.